The request and the demand for foot traffic data is huge. What makes this very unique is that you have a traceability of the data. You can see where people enter, how long they are staying, and where they are exiting the store, for instance.
Today on The Signal, using Wi-Fi to track people's movements without infringing on their privacy. We're going to learn about that from Bumby Labs. Welcome to The Signal. I'm Martha DeGrasse, here for Wi-Fi Alliance. This is our podcast where we bring you the inside track on Wi-Fi. These are meant to be smart conversations with industry leaders. We want to deliver a new perspective on the growing portfolio of Wi-Fi technologies that we see changing the connectivity landscape. And today we are thrilled to be joined by Staffan Liljestrand. We are here in Sweden to talk with the founder and chief science officer at Bumby Labs. Staffan, welcome to The Signal.
Thank you.
So let's start with a brief overview of Bumby Labs. Your mission, it sounds like you've been in business since 2011, is that right?
Yeah, actually the embryo of Bumby Labs started already in 2008. We see an explosion of smartphone and new ways how people use the device. So we began research in 2011 and I founded the company a year after that. So first years we ended up doing indoor location for big retailers such as Wi-Fi. In 2011 we installed the first smart city in Sweden and got a lot of media attention for that. At that time there were a lot of discussions in the society about GDPR, privacy regulation affecting the whole EU. So Bumby Labs, this small company, was targeted by the Swedish Data Authority in 2015, and to make a long story short, we come up on top of that and was actually officially approved to collect Wi-Fi data for foot traffic purposes.
So wait, let's dive into that a little bit, because
Yes.
there is a little bit of privacy concerns.
Yes.
How did you negotiate that?
It was really difficult. Back in the day, we did what most of the companies do today, is we hash the MAC address, we try to anonymize it, but what the data authority said that it's still considered personal information, it's traces of personal information, and so we really have to redo everything. So when trying to explain, because this is a bit of a black box for us, obviously this is what people are investing in the company for, this is unique for us. So what we do is we collect the data, we anonymize it directly as we collect the data, and then we discard the MAC addresses. We don't use MAC addresses at all. So 2015 was a really difficult year for us, but it was really the best thing that could happen to us. So the data authority pushed us to invent new technologies that today brings huge value to the company and our partners. So still today, Bumby Labs is the only company officially approved by data authority. And that's really why many big companies, decide to work with us and trust us.
Can you name any of your customers?
Yeah, we have that big telco, Telia, for instance.
Good.
We use with CK Delta. We use with a lot of Wi-Fi internet service providers. So some of them are here today. And also some of the big Wi-Fi manufacturing companies like Ruckus, Comscope, for instance.
Oh, fantastic. Yeah. And all the data is collected by Wi-Fi?
Yes, we use Wi-Fi to collect the data in order for us to have a sample source, but we use the other data sources as training data. So it's a neural network AI model where we use, for instance, camera sensor data to train the data models.
I'm sorry, camera what?
Camera sensor data.
Camera sensor data.
Yeah. So AI cameras. The challenge with using cameras for foot traffic is obviously privacy as well. In EU, the restriction is quite hard, and in many cases we see that even in the US and in other places also. So I think that this privacy and how we anonymize the data is what really makes us stand out, I think, in the crowd.
So are you keeping an eye on privacy regulations globally? Are you active in the US as well?
Yes, we are. When we were approved by the European Data Authority in 2015, we thought that we're going to have a couple of years in Europe before anyone else could do what we do. But still today it's 7 years and nobody done it. So what we see is growing demand for privacy friendly all over the world. And both the US, we see the similar legislation in Brazil, India. Most of the Indian companies we work with request that you have a GDPR approval. So we see there are a few markets that really doesn't care about privacy, but most markets do, and we see a huge interest and growing interest in the US as well for privacy-friendly Wi-Fi data.
Perfect. Okay, great. So everyone who connects to a Wi-Fi network in a venue is captured by your software?
No, you don't need to be connected to the Wi-Fi. So what we listen to or collect data from is passive data. So it's when phones do a probe request and search for Wi-Fi networks. So it's passive Wi-Fi data from the access points. So in many cases, these days we collect 80 to 90% of the city center in specific location. And many of the Wi-Fi analytics companies use the Wi-Fi probe request, obviously. But since the challenge for privacy is so huge, they need to have a consent, and that's the reason why many connect. So you can have a consent from the user. But with our GDPR approval, we collect the data and we can do it privacy friendly. So we push the data in our neural network algorithms and give accurate foot traffic data as output. It's an AI model where we use a lot of other data sources to train the very unstructured Wi-Fi data. So we focus on utilizing the GDPR privacy approval and to bring value to our partners. And there's a huge demand for privacy-friendly foot traffic data, and the industry is screaming for new KPIs.
And so foot traffic is just sort of one slice of the whole location-based services market. Is that correct?
Yes.
And why did you decide to focus here?
I think that the industry from the beginning has focused a lot on the active data collection where people log on to the network. You will have a lot of companies doing that on airports and similar. But the request and the demand for foot traffic data is huge. So it's nothing new to collect data for foot traffic. Traditionally, it's been IR sensors and cameras. But what makes this very unique is that you have a traceability of the data. You can see where people enter, how long they are staying, and where they are exiting the store, for instance. So I think we see a growing demand on foot traffic data, and this brings new kind of KPIs to the table. So as I mentioned, early a lot of the companies did IR sensors. Today they are looking for much more complex KPIs.
And does faster Wi-Fi like Wi-Fi 6 help?
It doesn't really, we utilize that, but it's a potential for us as well. But in many cases, what we do is we use existing hardware. And the reason for that is that it's scalable for us. So we use existing hardware. We are integrated to all the big ones and many medium-sized hardware manufacturers as well. So we collect that data. So it's passive data collection. So we're really collecting a small amount of data. So Wi-Fi is just a possibility for us to collect that data. But obviously there are things in Wi-Fi 6 to take this technology further, I think.
Sure. So which part of your customer base do you expect to see the biggest growth from? Service providers, or where do you think the biggest growth in the market will come for you?
I think Wi-Fi internet service providers is the fastest moving for us because they see potential for new revenue streams. It's potential for them to add as a layer on already existing infrastructure that they already have customers in.
Okay.
So this is where we see our fit for the market. And I think it's a great opportunity for our partners as well to utilize, existing hardware. Many obviously want to push more boxes and want to sell more hardware. But I think just adding this, it's really easy for our partners to add this software layer and collect that data and do it in a GDPR privacy-friendly way and to add new revenue. So I think Wi-Fi internet WISPs are the most focused for us part. Okay. But obviously the telcos are also interesting because many of the telcos have huge installations of Wi-Fi already enabled. So many of the big telcos we already work with, but it also, again, regarding already installed access points.
Already installed. So looking at the end users that they in turn market it to, where do you think the biggest opportunity is?
I think for the end user would be because we are working through a partner network, and so the end user would be everything from retail. That's a a given. All of the retailers in Europe have a lot of Wi-Fi installed already, and they are using some kind of foot trafficking technology, often quite basic and old. So there's a transformation in the industry for new KPIs, and just in Europe alone there are 1.9 million retail stores. If that translates to some kind of opportunity, that's $2.3 billion a year opportunity for foot traffic data just in Europe retailers. But what we also see is that the data can be used for many other cases. So we see now post-COVID optimization of offices, use of office spaces. We see heating and cooling of buildings.
Oh, really?
So that's a really strong case right now because of the energy prices in Europe.
So when there's more people, the more climate control.
Yeah, so they use it because in many cases, Bumble Labs are focused on providing good foot traffic data, but it can be used for many use cases. And these use cases is to optimize heating and cooling and ventilation. So we have that in a huge airport. There is a pilot where we use our data to, so to speak, optimize that. And the energy saving consultants think that they can reduce energy by 20 to 30%. And that's a huge cost for many real estate companies.
And that's interesting because a lot of those systems are becoming connected as well to the same network.
Yes. So it's a way to do it without having IoT devices on them. And also really big installations. And again, in many offices, you already have Wi-Fi. So it's perfect for us to use that. So we see a huge interest in that. So actually, the drivers are actually the consultancy firms, because they see a potential for adding consultancy hours to their partners and the customers. So they want to build cases about how to optimize office spaces and heating and cooling.
That's really interesting. Okay, great. Do you anticipate any outdoor opportunities like parking lot utilization, or do you think everything will be indoor?
No, we often see, because when we connect to the telcos, I often use the term macro, micro. That's the macro level data. You can see how people travel from city to city. But with the micro level data, you can see stores, and both indoor but also outside the store. So what we call the capture rate, how many people are the passes by of a retail store, for instance, how many of them are actually converting into the store, and after that, how are them transformed into buying customers. So that journey is really interesting for the retailers, I think, and also a lot for the smart city, because the resolution of the telco data is not built for smaller streets. It's more bigger areas or zones in the city. So we don't see telco data as a competitor. It's more a complement to our data. So that's the reason why the telcos work with us, I think.
Makes perfect sense. Yeah. And you said you also work with the biggest AP manufacturers.
Yes.
Can you name them or say how many, or you can't?
We can't name all of them, but it's official at least with Ruckus CommScope. So we work with them.
Good.
We work with them.
Excellent.
Yes.
All right. Thank you so much. Staffan Liljestrand, founder and chief science officer at Bumby Labs. Thank you so much for being here on The Signal.
Thank you for having me.
And that is our show. As always, you can check the show notes for links to the resources we talked about today. And for all things Wi-Fi related, go to y-fi.org. That's Wi-Fi Alliance. Thank you so much for joining us on The Signal. Please join us next time.